Serena, born on August 20th, 1951, in Santa Clara, California, emerged as a quietly commanding presence in the burgeoning mature film world of the 1970s. Though much of her early life remained shrouded in mystery, a contrast to many of her contemporaries who later penned memoirs or engaged in public retrospection, this absence of biographical noise only enhanced her mystique. Raised in a conservative Catholic household, Serena was reportedly drawn to the arts from an early age, gravitating toward visual expression and literature. She was said to have been introspective, soft-spoken, and intellectually curious, a disposition that later influenced the understated elegance she brought to her performances. Early life and origins. It is rumored that Serena was educated at university level before transitioning into modeling and eventually mature cinema, though the exact timeline of this shift is uncertain. Her entry into mature entertainment was not motivated purely by financial necessity, as was the case for many, but rather as a vehicle of personal liberation and artistic exploration. In interviews from the late 1970s, she spoke about mature films not as smut, but as another avenue of performance with a potential for sensual artistry. Entrance into the golden age. Serena made her film debut in the early 1970s during a period of cultural upheaval and liberation. The legalization of mature films in New York, following the obscenity trials of the late 1960s, gave rise to the so-called hot chic movement, and films like Deep Throat, 1972, and The Devil and Miss Jones, 1973, were being screened in mainstream theaters. Into this moment steps Serena, not as a bombshell caricature or provocateur, but as a subtle force, graceful, thoughtful, and quietly intense. She quickly gained attention not only for her classic beauty, willowy frame, high cheekbones, soulful eyes, but also for her ability to bring emotional dimension to a genre often dominated by one-note performances. Her screen persona was ethereal, enigmatic, and often tinged with melancholy. She brought an old-world elegance to the roles she played, which contrasted sharply with the more brash performances of some of her peers. Filmography and notable works. Between 1973 and 1984, Serena starred in over 70 mature films, working with the most influential directors and producers of the Golden Age. Among her most critically acclaimed titles, Sensual Encounters of Every Kind, 1978, a quasi-anthology film exploring various erotic fantasies, Serena's performance stood out for its emotional realism and narrative cohesion. Maraschino Cherry, 1978, directed by Radley Metzger, under the alias Henry Paris. This film was a stylish, European-influenced exploration of female sexuality. Metzger's films were known for their elegant cinematography and art house aesthetics, and Serena flourished in this milieu. Take Off, 1978, a comedic historical fantasia about an innocent time traveler exposed to escapades through the ages. Serena played multiple characters with nuanced shifts in performance. The Ecstasy Girls, 1979, a cult classic involving a gathering of top mature actresses in a mansion. The film was both meta-narrative and drama. Serena's performance blended emotional introspection with sensuality. Insatiable 2, 1984, one of her final appearances. This sequel to Marilyn Chambers' most famous film cemented Serena's place as a veteran of the industry, even as the aesthetics of films began shifting toward the more explicit gonzo style. Collaborations and industry relationships. Serena worked with some of the era's most iconic performers, including Jamie Gillis, Annette Haven, John Holmes, Georgina Spelvin, and Eric Edwards. Her chemistry with these co-stars often transcended the scene itself, marked by a natural flow and unforced passion. Directors respected her for her professionalism and refusal to be typecast. She was frequently cast in roles that defied the dumb blonde or starlet stereotypes. Instead, she portrayed dreamers, lonely housewives, mysterious strangers, or women with hidden pasts. Characters with backstories, emotional arcs, and complexity. In interviews, directors like Metzger praise her for bringing quiet fire to the screen. Aesthetic and screen persona. Unlike performers who relied on hypersexual performances or overt theatrics, Serena's allure was built on subtlety. Her presence in a scene could shift the energy simply through expression. She often played introspective or wounded characters, and her eyes conveyed longing, defiance, or submission depending on the context. Traits rarely explored in mature cinema with such nuance. Her scenes often felt like visual poetry, sensual, painterly, unhurried. Critics and mature film historians have pointed out that Serena brought a feminine intelligence to erotic performance that influenced later generations of actresses who sought more autonomy and creativity in their roles. Crossover work and modeling career. Beyond mature film, Serena modeled extensively for photographers like Susie Randall, Helmut Newton, and others working on the fringes of fashion. She appeared in high-end magazines such as Penthouse, Hustler, Club, High Society, Oui. These pictorials often emphasize the same dreamy sensuality she was known for in film, and she frequently styled herself for shoots, favoring vintage lace, bohemian fabrics, and natural makeup. Serena was also one of the early mature stars who embraced androgyny in her look, sometimes posing with a masculine edge or a distant, expressionless beauty that hinted at the surrealism of Cindy Sherman or Man Ray. Departure from the industry. By the early 1980s, the mature film industry began changing. The advent of home video, VHS, the rise of more aggressively content, and the waning interest in narrative-driven features signaled the end of the golden age. Serena, deeply uninterested in the direction of the industry, slowly began pulling back from films. She once stated that the emerging gonzo style, camera in your face, no storyline, minimal editing, felt mechanical and ugly to her. Her final performances retained their composure and taste, but she left the industry with quiet dignity, never returning even for retrospectives or comeback scenes as others did. Later life and artistic pursuits. After retiring, Serena largely disappeared from public life. Unlike some of her peers, she never courted mainstream fame or nostalgia. She is believed to have moved into the art world, possibly in Northern California or Oregon, where she pursued photography, painting, and spiritual studies. Close associates have described her as deeply private, spiritual, and someone who never needed the spotlight to validate her. Unverified reports suggest she studied Jungian psychology, explored Zen meditation, and may have participated in feminist art collectives during the late 1980s. While she declined offers to appear at conventions or retrospectives, Serena's name continued to circulate in mature film circles as a legend, a muse, and an enigma. Legacy and influence. Serena's influence on mature cinema is multifaceted. She demonstrated that mature could be subtle, artful, and emotionally resonant. Her work helped elevate mature film to a higher cinematic standard during the 1970s. She inspired a generation of actresses and filmmakers interested in the artistic potential of mature storytelling. Though she has never received Lifetime Achievement Awards or inducted into mainstream halls of fame, among connoisseurs of Golden Age cinema, Serena is considered one of the most important and iconic figures. Film historians and mature film critics, such as Jim Holliday and Rialto Report, have credited her with helping to create a genre within the genre, a form of erotic art cinema that had more in common with European auteurs than with the sleazy grindhouse productions of the day. Serena remains one of the most fascinating figures in the history of mature entertainment, neither fully of the industry nor completely outside it. She brought elegance, emotion, and artistic seriousness to her work. Her legacy is not one of controversy or scandal, but of quiet revolution, a performer who reshaped the landscape of mature cinema without ever needing to shout. In an industry built on exposure, Serena's true power was in her restraint, and in choosing to vanish from the spotlight at the height of her powers, she only solidified her status as an enduring icon of mystery.